All right. Hello. Welcome to Race Brain Podcast. We are back. Jack Bowers here. Bracken Crocker's here. My name is Rich Ryan. Today, we're just going to catch up. We've been gone for about a month, maybe a little bit longer, and talk about some things that happen in Hyrox. Some things are happening in Jack's world now that he's like a big baller. Jack basically won Hyrox World Championships this past weekend.
It was a good day. Rich has been making fun of Goofy Games for how long? Like 3-4 years. Goofy Games
Eternity.
days.
Doesn't mean it's not goofy, man. I saw some
no,
clips and I was like, I'm not watching any.
They are not mutually exclusive.
Yeah.
Can be goofy and make you money.
I am A-okay being identified as a Goofy Games athlete. If this weekend repeats itself, I'm totally fine with that.
That is you now. You are
on
that Goofy Game payroll.
My new nomination for Goofy Games Athlete of the Year after what he did this weekend, Ryan McGuire. Sorry, Jarrett. Right now, you've got work. You've got big shoes to fill. Ryan McGuire killed it this weekend.
He brings it. He brings the Goofy.
Oh yeah,
nice. So let's just talk about where we've been for a little bit, kind of landscape, kind of like where we like what we were thinking in general. So the way I think about it, let's start at the beginning. When the show actually came together, it was OCR. That was what we were covering. We started back on Reinforced Running Podcast, where we would draft for U.S. National Series races, and we would watch them and recap them. And that was basically just like a fun way that we can kind of talk about the athletes. And as things kind of progressed over the years, I mean, that was when 2000, that was pre-COVID, 18.
Yeah,
18?
I was going to say it had to have been before 2020. Like Kirk was, I think it was San Luis Obispo, which is like March 2022, but we'd already been doing we already had like the Okras a couple times on your show prior to that. So yeah, 2018, 2019, that sounds about right.
And then we came out on its own feed post-COVID on like 2021 or 2022 or something like that. It was the Big Bear race it was the week of Hyrox World Championships.
Back-to-back weekend.
Yes, where Chris won and then went out to Big Bear and got third. It was the Rogloski Ascension. So as it was progressing, the world's kind of started to blur with this new like hybrid racing sport, which is now just like Hyrox. And at the time, there was like heavy crossover, and we're like, okay, this is cool. Like, we're interested in both these things. The athletes who are doing OCR that we follow and we like the storyline of it, they're also kind of dipping their toes in the Hyrox. And now things have shifted like completely into the Hyrox space, where it is. That's where most of the competition is. Yeah, that's like it just seems like it's a little bit more exciting. It's just like run a little bit better. But where we were
there's very little crossover,
and there's not that much crossover anymore.
Yeah,
and that's kind of where we were left, right? It was like the base and the foundation of our show is obstacle course racing, and we weren't doing justice to our base and also to what was new in hybrid. So we were kind of like in this middle limbo, and it was hard to justify. Like, it was hard to understand like where to go, what was going to serve us and our time, and also like our core audience who basically came from obstacle racing. And just over the course of the past 2 years in particular in OCR, it's just like not compelling anymore. It's really hard to watch. I don't feel inspired by like the leadership in particular, and then like the athletes in general. It's like there's no real offense to them, but I'm not like inspired.
There's no storylines.
Like there's no athletes to follow. There's not much to follow. So that's kind of where we are now, where we're kind of like, okay, there's now the Hyrox rundown with Matt, which we will pop in and out of for sure, and that's been great. And that's specifically Hyrox. And now we're here. Now it's been about a month, and we're just kind of catching up. So I don't know, boys. What are we thinking? How are we going to fill this in?
Well, this show was based around the U.S. National Series, in particular Spartan, and its progression towards Worlds. And the drafts were bountiful at first, and it was compelling. And as Spartans died, the competitive sport of OCR has died.
Mm-hmm.
Now, you can argue as much as you want that there's other race options out there, but there is not a compelling storyline. There's not a compelling season to follow for any other race series, no matter how well run that race series might be. If Jack and I do not find a storyline in it, it probably doesn't exist from an elite OCR standpoint, except for overseas. And overseas is very difficult to find any way to watch here. And they have their own voice for it over there. We don't belong being the voice for overseas OCR. So it kind of leaves us in a spot where like we started scrapping drafts because there's not even enough declared elite entrants to field a full roster for a draft. So we're in a weird spot where the sport that we started the show for all intents and purposes, does not exist in North America.
We went from the point where we draft 15 people per team, sometimes 21, depending on if we do 5 or 7 rounds. And there were people who ended up finishing in like the top 10, being left off the board. That's how deep it was. I just looked at who's showing up this race, and I know everybody in OCR. Like I can tell you a bunch of stats on pretty much anybody, and I recognize like 5 guys in the men's field, like 6 in the women's field. That's about it. That's
how many total women do you know are declared?
I think like 8.
So
not good.
Like,
and then and we were hoping, because we heard for years, like, or a couple of years, this is just like a restructuring. We're catching up on some of our losses. We're going to bring back the prize money and stuff. And then they just introduce, we're going to have 20,000 for the end of the season total. So 10,000 male, 10,000 female for our total prize money. And that's it. And if you're an athlete who's been waiting for this to come back on the OCR side, you're not going to do it. There's probably one athlete male and one athlete female in the entire US who's going to break even by winning the series this year. So
just to clarify, that is series, end of series prize payout. There is nothing on a
$0 day of. Yeah.
Zero.
Jack's with them deep pockets now. He's like, that is chump change.
I know.
Who would waste their time with that type of
getting
change?
Dubai games? If you got 4th place at Dubai games, you're going to make more than the winner of the U.S. National Series this year. What?
Yeah. So without getting like too doom and gloom, the way I look at this is that we are now at the point where we would be putting more effort and hours into promoting the series than the series itself.
Oh, we've probably been doing that for the past.
Yeah,
16,
but like it's clear
months.
this year.
Yeah, for sure.
Like we will spend more of our money through our hours that are billable hours
Mhm.
than Spartan will spend on the racers for the entire series on a race by race basis. And at that point, like we just need to take their message. It's not important to them. They're not going to try to grow it. And so I don't feel the need to cover something that really doesn't exist. Because then we're scraping the barrel trying to find races that happened and talk goofy games and talk hybrid. Like it's just not what the show is.
We want to do it, but there's no product there to do it.
No product to cover.
Right.
Like we scrapped World's Toughest Mudder last year. We looked at the field and we're like, who's going to be it? And then it ended up having like a compelling storyline, but you wouldn't have known heading into that was what it was going to be based on the list of names. OCR Worlds, it was like, we can't draft this. And it's been like that for a couple of years, and the writing's on the wall.
And we talk about this a lot back when this did first start. We literally watched a screen of names updating on a website called Athlinks because they weren't really showing us what was going on. That's how into it we were.
Mm-hmm.
And my enthusiasm has dropped almost completely off from that moment where it was like it was 4 a.m. We hung out just to watch what was happening. As
I woke up early. That's telling you how important this was.
That was like 4:30 in the morning for Jack.
I had a race in 4 hours, 3 hours, and I was up fueling while watching this thing with you.
My F5 button refreshing that page broke because we were like, come on, get some splits. Like,
since that day, Rich, how many OCR races have you done?
For Carson, right?
Maybe just one.
I think 2.
Maybe 2.
Oh,
was that since then?
That might have been a few weeks prior to that race.
You just want to bring this up?
Why?
Be like,
what did something happen there?
It was really cold. We barely got to warm up.
So you've done 1, maybe 2. Last year, I raced 1 OCR race. The year before, I raced 1 OCR race. Jack, how many have you raced in the last 2 or 3 years?
I did a couple 3K races before my knee injury, and then I think I did 1 last year, maybe 2.
I did 2. So I've done 3 in 2 years. You've done
4 to 5. I did Big Bear last year thinking that they were going to have a 3K, but then they decided, nah. So
from a competitive standpoint, we're not part of this sport anymore. And from a viewership standpoint, there's nothing to view. Now, that's
Right.
not entirely true. There is going to be coverage of Jacksonville coming up. But in terms of storylines, has Spartan posted anything?
Not that I've seen.
Has there been a
Probably not.
build-up to the season? Does anyone know who's going? It's not
And it's
great.
one thing to be athletes in it, but just not like because we could be fans since that moment, right? We covered a lot, and I
Yeah.
enjoyed it very much. Like when we would just like watch and be compelled by the sport. But yeah, now I'm almost just like not in it at all.
Yeah. Well, our initial goal was what? To be a voice for the athletes and the fans of the sport in a sport that didn't receive a ton of coverage.
Mhm.
And there are very few athletes left in the sport, and the fans have nothing to watch.
There's not much of a
There-
sport.
So
There's turnover in every sport, but you don't have it all happen at once. You don't have every single athlete who's relevant leave it at the same time. You have athletes age out, you have them find different interests and stuff, but that would be like every single superstar quarterback retired at the same time. And it's like that just doesn't happen. You'll have some gap, but it seemed like it fell off a cliff.
So what's the so what? Like we're building to a what here? Are we announcing where we've been, or is this are we announcing an intent moving forward?
That's the thing, right? It's like when we were talking, I could just imagine it's like, so why don't you just cover Hyrox then? And the answer to me is we that's not who we are. That's not where we came from, right?
Mhm.
Like it's what we're interested in it somewhat now, but it's just kind of an injustice when there's a lot of media outlets who are covering this solely and doing it just on their own. It's like, then why if we're gonna do it, would we want to all the way do it? And that's not really what this show is or was. So yeah, that's just something that we've been trying to figure out. Like how does this exist?
The identity.
Does it need to exist? Do we just kind of check in every so often, which is kind of what we're leaning toward? Or are we going to be just only on YouTube for a specific type of for a specific show? Are we going to completely change the format? But Race Brain, the way that it was, weekly, long form, covering whatever, is not going to exist anymore.
Rich, do you want to address the how to find episode? I know you mentioned Hyrox Rundown before, but like a few people have asked about that. Just you want to give a little clarity on that?
With what?
Like the different streams, like how they're
Ah.
not all in the same. Yeah.
So yeah, Hyrox Rundown did start here on the Race Brain feed, but it has since spun off onto its own. So you can search Hyrox Rundown. It's Hyrox Rundown by Race Brain. So I think if you even search Race Brain, it would come up. I believe. So that they are coming out with episodes that we will be on. We will be there frequently. We BK and Jack, you've both been on since it's been its own feed.
Instant reactions,
Instant
post-race
reactions,
recap,
just
like yeah,
same type of
power rankings.
same type of Race Brain stuff, just on a different feed and only about Hyrox or hybrid racing. So it's available wherever you listen. Just kind of search it and you have to subscribe to a different feed.
Hyrox is the thing you need. Hyrox in the name, basically, at this point.
And so the question really remains for the listeners: do we cease to exist as Race Brain, or do we continue to exist as a variety show, as a roundtable debate show that covers all running forms? Like, do people? The numbers will speak for themselves. Like if people care, if they want us in their lives, then they'll take anything.
Right.
But the main critique of our show is that like cover more OCR. Like, we can't.
Can't. And then like, yeah, do we then that's the thing. It's like then we're split into a bunch of different broad, like then we're way broad. And then it's just hard to gain traction for one specific audience when it's in 4 different niche sports.
It's like you're looking for a certain topic each week, but you can't do it. Yeah.
Even in OCR, right? Or even Hyrox, these sports that are based specifically on running, those and like doing strength stuff, those two audiences are different. And that audience is much different than a track and field audience, right? Like when we do track and field stuff, I don't think people really care. We like it.
We like it.
But like, and
that's how your parents will listen to you talk about anything because they're interested that you're interested, but they don't really care. That's how this is. Like, we'll see some of the numbers are still there because people are like, oh, I'll listen to you talk, but I'm waiting for you to get back to the thing I care about. And that thing's essentially dead.
Right. So we'll see how it does exist, and if it will continue to go on. If anything, there'll be like kind of check-ins the way that we're going to do today, and just kind of touching on some topics that might be fun to talk about that are that kind of stretch across the different niche sports. So we still have some work to do. So we're not saying goodbye, but it's definitely different than what it has been.
Yeah, and
we're trying to hold on.
If we think back just to last fall, we left Seattle very optimistic about what could be. Like it only takes one race to right the ship, at least in terms of excitement. We all kind of talked. That was an epic course. It was a great competition. It was better depth of field. And if we just get a few more, this could be back. If this is the way the series looks next year. And then now it looks like it's not necessarily going to look so much improved. But if Jacksonville proves us wrong, like we're right back in it. Like this could be resurrected at any moment. We just aren't optimistic right now.
Yeah, and to add on to your Seattle thing, it's like we found out Trifecta Worlds was finally going to our number one choice for a big race in the U.S., West Virginia. We're like, the ball's rolling. This is looking good. And then it's like, nah, no prize money. It's just...
There's a prize money at all for Trifecta?
There will. I'm talking the series. Like they didn't announce U.S. National Series prize money until like 2-3 weeks before this event.
I mean, just the facts are they fired the best people that would represent the racer side of the sport. You know, as soon as Steve Hammond left, they lost their remaining soul, and they haven't now shown what they will do from that move. Like you can only allow such a move to take place if there's clear improvement of the brand as a result. And as we've seen, without someone advocating for that, which Steve has done for years, gone in and just demanded, like, we need more money for this race. Jack's seen that behind the scenes. Steve has done that. That's not there. And the very first race of the year, North American Elite Series has 0 prize money on it. So it's like, it just kind of confirms what we were pessimistic about, which is like there isn't this step forward that will justify some of these cost saving measures they've done or whatever they're doing cleaning the house. It's just going to continue to deteriorate.
Right. It's the way we speculated when they really started to make these kind of turns, probably dating back to the Bracken Crocker led Spartan protest.
That was like third row. I wasn't going to get hit by any projectiles, but I was like, you could see my hand up in the air.
You were observing.
General.
So, but since then, that was when the athletes start to have concern, and then every season since, there's been just more and more evidence showing how they are divesting from the sport, and now we're just at the point now where it's just all that we feared has now come true. So, and this is a lot of like this type of tone is the tone that we have taken for probably the past year or so, where it's just negative and not fun. And like, I don't want to do a show that's negative and not fun, because that's not how it started. And I don't believe that's who we are.
Well, that's exactly it. We did this to try to improve the sport, and our justification for our pessimism and our negativity, and how many times have I said it? Like I said, I'm not going to be negative, but I believe we can inspire change, was to call the industry on the nonsense, shed light on it, and give some actionable improvements that they can use. Year 3, it's not going to happen. Like we've tried, we've bitched and moaned, we've complained, we've offered constructive criticism, non-constructive criticism, we've offered our own services. It's just not happening. And so at some point you just take the message that's being sent to you, which is, we don't care.
We don't care.
Our crystal ball episodes have gone from like at the end of the year for the next upcoming season have gone from like, is this athlete going to battle so-and-so to like not one positive thing. And that's not a good sign.
Right. So yeah, that's where we'll leave it for now. We just wanted to come on and kind of explain where we've been, and we had to take some time to think about it and take some time on our own and see how we felt without, meeting and talking. And we will be back periodically and just being able to kind of message what it looks like. We don't have a definitive answer now, but we will be around, most certainly on the rundown, not every week, but there will be different episodes that feature
1 to 3 of us
that feature us. Yes, for sure. So, but I figure since we're all here, why don't we kick it around? You guys cool with that?
On.
Yeah. You just want to kick it around?
Rich, I heard there was a good football game recently.
Oh my God, we don't need to talk about that.
It's been a while though. Yeah.
I've been just.
Can I start with some positive news from the OCR industry?
You have some?
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
It's not from
20
the
minutes
OCR
in.
industry.
20 minutes in is the turning point on this episode.
Well, and it's not, because it's just from someone who was in the OCR industry. When did Tyler Veerman first run his OCR debut? 2014, 2015?
He
Wasn't
was
he at that, like,
leaderboard,
hard
wasn't
charge?
he? You tell us.
He was at a hard charge. He did an Indiana sprint.
14 or so. Yeah.
He was way back in the day, fresh out of college. He did it. Well, he just won the Moab 50 miler, I believe.
Sprint
That's
finish,
crazy.
right?
And I don't know if you saw it. He had a lead and then it shrunk and he won by 4 seconds
That's crazy.
in
For
a
50
50
miles.
miler. 4 seconds.
That's wild. Well,
Isn't
see,
it?
that's good. Now that we have, there's good athletes out there in other
And that's
spaces.
the point. OCR at its core was a second lease on athleticism for everyone. And what or is a bridge to what was coming next. Tyler was fresh out of college. He found OCR, got into trail running, got into mountain running, moved to the mountains, and now he's winning 50 milers in Moab. Like this would not be occurring without OCR as the launching point. And so it has done so much positive. It's just ceasing to do so much positive. But here's an example of what came from this sport that we loved is Tyler's a legit mountain runner. The same time this weekend, John Albin took second in Trans Gran Canaria, and his wife, Henriette, won it in her debut 100K. So, and she won by an hour. She put 55 minutes on everyone on the final descent. I mean,
that's disgusting.
Miles of descent and people cracking Trans Gran Canaria because it's hot and it's crazy amounts of vert and the descent just brutalizes people. But again, an OCR origin story are now world-class ultra runners. So all around the world, Spartan's influence is being felt. And they're out there and they're fit and they're waiting for a reason to do OCR if it ever comes back.
We can't. This is a great segue into Goofy Games champions coming straight out of OCR.
Straight out.
We had Team Colorado winning the Battle of the Cities. The state wins the city. City battle.
Colorado City. No, so you want to know what happened? The
Old
first time?
Colorado City.
Yeah.
No, there is.
Isn't
like
that just like a neighborhood?
Yeah. Do you want to know what happened? Like the origin of that? So we wrote that we had to go see some city council member in Colorado Springs because half of us were living there. And we're like, hey, here's our thing. Can you sign off on this? Because they needed a certified letter like to represent your city. They forgot to write Colorado Springs. They forgot the word Springs and they just wrote Colorado. So then they printed that in our jersey and we've been that for the past 3 years.
And that is how government works.
Yeah.
So Jack, tell us a little bit. Like I'm not, like I said, I do not want an event by event.
No.
Like we saw some clips.
Jack,
as
I
goofy
can
as
mute
ever.
him. I have power on this thing. I can mute him and you can go.
Hold on, we got a little trophy real quick. Right
very made up trophy.
Can see this.
Means nothing. Who knows? Like the best part. I haven't heard the entire story, but I was like a little bit of it. Is that like, and this is classic, just like from the OCR tree, that there was a goof up on the course, so they just like gave you guys a tie. And it's like, we saw the finish, but we're just gonna be like, never mind. Results in the finish lines don't really matter in this area.
We got high level recap.
We got screwed.
What was it?
We got screwed. All right, so finals, top 4 teams. We did
no.
events.
Start from the beginning. Where were you competing? And what was it?
No.
A lot of people don't know.
A lot of people asking.
Rich, why don't you go get a coffee? All right, so this is in Dubai. Rich was actually on the original Team Colorado. We had 7 events as a buy-in, actually 8. First event was a weighted vest, 10 kilograms, up the Burj Khalifa. We got first. That's all I'm saying.
Doing the freaking
people.
We smashed people. Know what he did.
We're heading into the main competition in first place. Canada was like minute behind. Do
you remember that in like Family Double Dare where like you like got underneath like did you guys watch that show?
Oh yeah.
There's like this part where there's like this big nose that you had to get under and dig in there and try to grab a That's the type of events we're talking about. They had that. I saw it.
Not.
Yes, they did. They got slimed. If
we
they
hit slime,
hit a bucket. Yeah, I saw it.
We got slime this year in the Goofy Games.
I did see it.
Okay, all right. Rich saw it. I missed that part. Anyway, day 2, you do 7 events, and we ended up finishing second place in terms of accumulated points. We knocked out the defending champs, Copenhagen. So it was Montreal.
Is that Leon?
It was, yeah.
They didn't make the
Montreal
final?
Leon?
Mm-mm.
Man, that was like their paycheck for the year, past 2
It
years.
was it's a good paycheck. And then 2 teams from Russia. So we made the final. St. Petersburg made it last year. Kazan, they're another one, and they've got like Olympians on their team. Like they're good. But anyway, we made the finals. Get there, start competing. First thing, like you have to throw some. Basically, we reached the end. We had to,
You had to play whack-a-mole.
yeah,
in the
basically,
middle.
yeah. You had to like build a bridge over something, grab a key, unlock a ball, tow it up, like get up a 15-foot
Dr.
slip wall.
Quandary.
Rich is dying right now.
Plunk you have to
and so-
play.
So anyway, we were like down a lot. We got really stuck on one part of it. Where it was like a group movement thing.
Whose
on
fault was it?
big wheel on the wheel?
Yeah.
Ryan McGuire for weighing too much. We put him in the back. We should have put him in the front. VJ and I were like trying to move, and then Ryan would just hit his body weight, just like put it back. So we'd go 2 steps forward, 1 step back. But anyway, we hoist this giant ball up to the top, and basically that's used to crash through some blocks so that you can. It's like a demolition ball. I know it sounds ridiculous. They forgot to attach it. They forgot to attach it for us. So we pulled the chain. We're catching up to Montreal. A lot of teams that were really struggling. We pull it empty, and we're like, what? And so we had to stand there, and they had a timer. They have a bunch of videos on course. We're stuck for 57 seconds. They said, can't move, can't make any progress. We were smelling blood in the water. We were closing in on everybody. We're like, that's our win. And Atkins was like slipping off the wall. I couldn't believe it. He was falling, like all the guys from Canada slipping on this thing. By the time we finally get it back, they had someone climb some scaffolding to reattach this hook so that we could pull the thing. We're scrambling. We end up getting to the top of the wall, like one person behind them, and then have to just climb up a ladder to all 5 of us to the end. We end up crossing the finish line and hitting those buzzers 18 seconds behind them, but we were stuck in place by 57 seconds. So
like, hi.
You subtract the 2 of those, and that's 39 seconds. So we crossed the finish line, and we're like, I think we won. But Montreal's like celebrating like crazy. And so we go down, and they're like, guys, we gotta talk about something. So I'm the team captain. Samuel Hebert's the team captain on Montreal. Pull us aside, and they're like, so this is like 30 minutes of deliberation. They pulled us in, and still hadn't announced a winner. And they're like, so we looked at the video coverage, and Colorado it was an equipment failure on our end. We forgot to reset it properly after the previous divisions had done that thing when we unhooked it. It was our fault. No fault of their own. They were stuck in place for 57 seconds. They technically completed the course faster than you guys. And so they're like, I think what we've decided is we're going to declare Colorado the outright winner because they did it. And then from an optics standpoint, they're like, doesn't look too good having the winner not be the one who actually hit the buzzer first. So then they decided. So then they ended. Yeah. So then they were out there waiting a little bit longer, and they're like, we've decided that there will be co-winners, and you will both get the same prize money, and you're both first place. And like, we just went crazy.
You're like, fine.
Yeah.
So like, you both get the money.
Both of us.
Do they split
identical.
it? What was the wins supposed to get?
It was supposed to be 500,000 dirham, which is like 23,000 per person for the winner, and it's half that for second place. So they just made a quick phone call, got an extra.
They're like, we'll just give
250,000 extra dirhams, and then they're like, let's go. There you go. So that's what happened.
That's actually the right call.
We were ecstatic. They owned their mistake on the spot, and all of us, there were 12 winners instead of 6.
What if they would have said,
OCR.
We got the extra money, and we can go double or nothing? You versus Samuel Hebert, 1-on-1.
In what?
Squid Game.
You don't get to know what. Would you have taken it for the team to say?
Yeah. Oh yeah.
And what if it would have turned out to be a fight?
He's got a bad shoulder right now.
Oh, Jack feels confident. He's a big, strong boy though.
I was there. We were eating lunch with them. I knew everyone's injuries.
He's a big, strong boy.
They knew ours. Yeah.
Oh, congratulations.
That is awesome. I was really happy for you guys. It was really, really cool.
It was pretty crazy. Yeah, honestly. Like, and And we've competed against Montreal, like all those guys, Austin, Samuel Hebert, Atkins, like Beatrice, she was on the team. Couple of the Ninja guys I hadn't met before.
Well, that's who that was.
Will and Will and Jesse, hadn't met them before, but like we all get along really well. They're cool guys, and no one wanted like that flawed victory, I guess, where it just didn't feel good to be like, we got screwed, but we technically would have completed the course faster than you had this not happen. And they were like, but we crossed the finish line first. So like none of us felt good about it. And then when they're like co-winners, it's like the only time that we were actually like, okay, that's fair. The thing that I personally am disappointed in, and the rest of my teammates, is like we didn't get that moment of just like, you saw Atkins freaking out.
You're gonna get that moment when it hits your bank account.
I know, but like,
this is not a real thing. This is like a completely made up event that like they just make things up as it goes. There's like the year we went BK, it was like, you guys are in 7th. We're like, how'd you get this score? They're just like, you're in 7th. It's like, we'll go home now.
They had a live leaderboard throughout the day. Like we knew how far behind we were.
They've improved the competition.
Better, Rich. It's gotten better.
It's not.
I have two questions.
It's not. You're not like, I can't. The moment I cross that finish line, it's like not the Olympics, dude. It's just like fucking some sport where you go to make money.
Don't take his moment.
It's already gone.
That already happened.
He has no moment. He has no moment.
You're taking his lack of moment from him now.
Yeah. It already happened.
First question.
Yeah.
Did they cover travel? Hotel only.
We had to pay. It's a pay to play type of thing. At the first year, they just wanted to promote that international division, but everybody pays their way. Have you guys seen Physical 100, by the way?
Yeah.
Team from South Korea, both winners, and 4 other guys who made the. They were all there.
Really?
Smashed them.
They got starched.
Absolutely smashed them.
Are they impressive looking?
They're pretty big. Like
they are how they look on TV.
But it was one of those who hasn't watched a TV show and you're like, that guy's not going to do well. Like this is not going to work. It turned into an endurance contest at the end.
Yeah.
They're not endurance athletes. But
yeah. So then second question, how disappointed is one Rylan that he decided not to go with you guys?
I know.
Are you guys chipping in? Are you going to pass a hat around and send it to him? Or is he just out? Do you guys take care of your own?
I mean,
that's a hard no.
I don't think
they haven't even thought about. Yeah. What about Micah?
Yeah. But we brought Isaac in. Isaac Sanderson. He lives in Colorado. He resides here. Yes, he is a Canadian citizen, but he is a Colorado resident. That guy's
he lives in the city of Colorado.
He lives. I think he lives in Broomfield.
He's not far from me. Yeah, he's not far from me.
But anyway, we had like athletes this year, not just
not like what you started with.
No.
We had athletes the first year, but then it was just hey, shoot this tennis ball out of a air cannon.
We had very
shoot, Rich.
I think we had very fit individuals linearly and just like fitness. But I think
Rich has no wiggle.
Yeah, Rich is athletic, but I think like we got another guy who's been on a Ninja Warrior, Anthony, 5 times. Like Ethan Brown, that guy's amazing at just scrambling and just getting stuff done. He's like a mercenary. You tell him to do something, he's gonna get it done.
He's like a mercenary?
Yeah. Ethan is the only person who has not sat out.
Are they good athletes?
An event. I don't know, but
really he was clutch like that.
Ethan Brown, we were at like the 130th floor and he is on the verge of puking and we've got 30 floors to go, dry heaving everything. And he just kept one foot in front of the other. We're just pushing him and dragging him up this.
Who was that last year?
Ethan.
It was
That's 2 straight years. I'm telling you,
the mercenaries aren't good at stairs.
Yeah. Oh no! When they announced the event, like in the group chat, he's like, "Great!" Like
I'm not prepared again.
He had an entire year.
Yeah,
I'm also not prepared.
Yeah. But he's clutch. He's the only guy on our team. Even VJ sat out.
I'm surprised you guys beat that Montreal team in the stair climb.
Oh, yeah. You want to know who set the pace? You want to know who set the pace?
You?
Me.
Let's go.
Me. I had splits in mind.
Dog.
We were able to wear a watch this year. Last year we weren't. But I like did some math and I'm like, all right, we need to be at this first level at like 7.5 minutes. And I was 1 second off. And we needed to be at the next level because basically it's a staircase for 40 levels and then you run across, transfer to a new staircase. And then like that was like 13 minutes in and I was 1 second. I'm like, I am killing this, guys. Like we were perfect. And then, Ethan hung on at the end and we got first place in that. I was pumped.
Maybe we should come on every week and just talk about goofy games.
That'd be more fun than making fun of Spartan.
All right, Rich, you saw some clips. What was the goofiest thing you saw?
I honestly did not.
You
I
just
just
turned it off?
saw like what was posted on social. I mean, it's all goofy, man. Like it
Yeah,
looks,
yeah,
it's
yeah.
like
We
it's
had
like
some
bright blue
weighted squats.
padded. Like it's just like
Yeah.
it's
The
like
way I
Wipeout.
look at everything in life is if they're going to do this, we might as well be the people who benefit from it.
For sure.
And
Yeah,
so I love that one of us took it.
that's
I'm
so cool. It's
we
really
were,
awesome.
we were so pumped, but we were like meticulous, and I was like, Montreal is gonna be meticulous. I'm gonna be meticulous. Not just me, but like our team's gonna be meticulous. And we thought Copenhagen was gonna make it, but I was like, there's gonna be 1 or 2 teams from Russia to make it. Like the teams that you knew were gonna do well did well, and it was just survival at the end.
Are you sore?
Yes. Yes, I am. It probably has to do with the fact that I was up for 41 out of 42 straight hours, because we woke up at 7:30 a.m. Competition was 7:30 p.m. Ended because of the controversy. We didn't leave the venue till like 10:30. We had a 1:30 a.m. flight. So we got back to the hotel, packed our bags. I took like a 2-second shower, got on a plane, and it was 26 hours of travel time and on a flight. And then at like 2 hours back, it was a long couple of days. My body is a little wrecked.
It does give me some, some warm and fuzzies just to know that even if like OCR is dead, there is still going to be just like silly outcomes.
Oh yeah,
that
we already
all-
we already got an
regret not
invite
going?
next year. Yeah.
Me?
Yeah.
No. If I was on that team, they wouldn't have won. Like,
You could have sat out all.
I could have just been support. I basically was last time. I would have been good at that stair climb. But
Oh,
other than
Rich
that,
would have
like,
crushed that stair climb.
I'm just chilling.
So VJ got sick. Like right when we on the flight, he's like, "Oh, I feel like I got a stuffy nose," and he's like, "I think I'm gonna get sick." And he was feeling it those last like 20 or so floors. And then Ryan McGuire went to like some local market, and he and his girlfriend Nicole decided, let's get some local food instead of the provided food that they have at the hotel. He lost 10 pounds throwing up. We sat him on 3
Goofy
or
games.
on 4 of the 7 events because he
And you could
lost
still
like.
do well. You could still win in these circumstances.
No, he did the one where like you're paddling in a boat and you have to like unhook. I'm like, Ryan, just do that. We sat him on the human ladder. We sat him on a couple other things, but
And that's who you chose to
That's your
take
MVP.
Jarrett Newby down a peg?
Yeah. That's
Guy
a
who didn't
testament to his-
compete?
Ryan was so gutsy. You don't even like we cumulatively as a group said like they gave us there was one giant check for 500,000, like the big cardboard check. And we all agreed, even Team Canada, were like, Ryan's getting this for what he did because he was the one who hoisted the ball over at the top. He with our last throw hit this bonus buzzer that got us 5 points and basically allowed us to get in all while he was sick. So he was the most clutch. And then Ryan Atkins stole the check, by the way. So give that back. It's Ryan McGuire's. But yeah, he gets my pick this year.
All right, we've talked about this too long.
Yeah.
Let's move along. So let's talk about actual Hyrox, some stuff that actually happened. So there was the European Open Championships just this past weekend in Vienna. They had this last year.
To be clear, when they posted everything, that was not the label.
How did they post it? Oh,
Ripped one.
yes, I know.
There was
53.
no identifier on the Instagram.
I know.
post.
Like I was Podium.
I was like, what in the world? Goodness.
This is kind of what DC is going to be, right? Where it's open weight and
It's
okay.
just open. Last year in Vienna and in DC, they coupled it with a major. So the day before was the major where it was pro weight. And then on the event weekend, it was open. So the Open Championships, I'm not quite sure why these exist, but they are kind of cool because it is an opportunity for people to race this race that's a little bit faster, a little bit lighter, and they stick you in waves of your age group, right? So a lot of times athletes who are racing for this, they don't get to actually race. They're more or less time trialing until actual world championships. So it's actually a cool opportunity to like be in a corral, know where you are, use some race tactics, which is something that is definitely missing from the sport. And the OCR really wouldn't get that either. It'd be like if you're coaching somebody who is an age group competitor, they'd be like, yeah, I think I did well, but they don't really know. So it's an opportunity for that. But I was thinking about this. So Alex Ronkovich, the reigning world champion, he won because he just popped in. It's his hometown, whatever. And he ran like 53:28. Like they posted that, and that's open. Last year he ran like 50. 30, so almost
yeah.
3 minutes
He beat
slower than what
us.
he ran in. Yeah, he did.
Yeah.
He did. But this is like almost. This is not that much faster than his pro PR. But
Right.
it got me thinking, and just kind of looking at the names, seeing what was going on here. What would you guys rather do, or what do you think is more impressive? Winning a Hyrox Open or winning a Sunday Sprint?
Hyrox Open.
Yeah, on just like a regular
In-
day.
Did you talk about how not deep OCR is? Like I feel
Well,
at this point
let's
winning
say
a
the
Hyrox
heyday.
They're the same. All it takes is one person to show up.
and they're gonna win.
Like if VJ shows up and Riker's there, it's not easy to win. If just Riker shows up, he wins.
Right.
Same thing with
Yeah.
this. Like if it just Ronk shows up, it's easy. If Pelayo's there too, it's not anymore.
Are they the same?
Yeah. For the pros, yes.
It's pretty comparable.
For
I
the
think
open wave, Hyrox is harder.
how many high level open weight athletes are there who haven't done, like, you're not going to suddenly have new people. It's basically a known field just dropping down in weight. And those are the ones who are going to do
That's
well.
what it was in Vienna.
Yeah.
That's what it was in Vienna. There was a handful of athletes who have been in the Elite 15. I see like 5 just like looking at it who raced in this open wave.
On the new and improved results, or old and improved results.
Old and
system, right?
improved. We made a
Old
difference.
and improved.
That's us. We did that.
I do want to talk about that too.
Yeah.
I do think though that this is good. I like this. We talked about this. Like having a pro in there. It's cool for everyone who gets to share the course with them and do what they did and then compare their time to them. And like with that being said, like it sets the curve. I think it's cool that Ronk did it. I do. It was looked at as cherry picking to do Sunday sprints. I don't look at this as cherry picking because this doesn't advance him in any way, shape, or form. I think this is beneficial for everyone else who did it, that Ronk did it.
You had good names in this. This is kind of like a Sunday sprint after a national series race. Like you're not going to get the full field, but like you've got some studs in there.
Yeah.
It's
I
not
like
hard
the
to-
concept of it.
Yeah.
What do we think about this concept in general? Like why an open championship?
Money.
You
Gives
think?
people something to train for, and then they commit
Was there
to
money?
multiple races in a season. No,
mean,
like
Oh, for
entries.
the organization.
I
Yeah.
mean, they're selling out every race everywhere, no matter what.
Championship has like there's implications to it. And the implication in this is that you're going to build to it. You just have your Copenhagen race, you might just do Copenhagen. If you have a championship for the open,
Step
you might
ladder.
do Copenhagen and Berlin and Vienna. That's people get excited about championships and they build for it and they train it. They make it their season goal, and that keeps you in the ecosystem. So I think it's smart. I think it's good. I would like more of this. I would like to see day one always be pro weight for elite, pro, and open, and day 2 be open weight. I think it's a cool concept. I don't like the current system of pro weight sometimes and not others for open. I
Right.
think it should always be the option. You have pro and open pro weight, and you have pro and open weight, or just open weight on day 2, like a Sunday sprint type deal.
On a 2-day race weekend, that actually makes sense logistically. Like fewer weight changes. You don't necessarily have, I forgot to load an extra 25 kg on this thing. Like
and you put the doubles on their respective days, and you're set.
Not bad.
Yeah, like so I guess where it's like a little confusing is like who is an open championship for?
Right.
Is it going to turn
if the pros who or people who typically do pro weight are dropping down, why is it just not pro weight? Why is it not a European championship? Period.
It's just not for them.
Right, but they still do it.
But you can't.
Think of OCR. They had Killington as like the age group regional championship, and then Seattle as they had 2 in the same year. It might not have been Seattle that year, but they do cater towards age group, and they have an age group series. It's kind of similar.
But like Alex Ronkovich ran.
Right. We know who it's for, but who shows up is up to whoever wants to show up.
Is this like Killian?
Whoever can get a ticket.
Is this like Killian when he ran that age group race and like people were just flipping out because it's like, why are you in this one? You should be in the other one.
People are dumb.
Yeah.
I saw this online. There was a Hyrox group. A guy posted, he said, I must bring this to our attention. Why do we not have more money spent on awards? We get a $1 patch or whatever after all this work and how much we pay to be here. And this is all I get as reward. It's like, you are a grown man. Show up and compete for the competition's sake. You're a 38-year-old guy complaining that your patch isn't cool enough. It's the same thing with finisher medals for years. Oh, it's Medal Monday. Like, stop bringing your medals to work. That's not why we race.
Yeah.
Killian took my podium spot. Then it's not your podium spot. Like,
He was
show
better
up
than
and
you that
race.
Right.
You want to compete against the best.
Stop
Stop complaining about that.
I like that. Yeah, that was always like age group, like money payouts. It's like, well, what?
Yeah, no.
How does that work?
Win it and then come up to pro and win money. We've seen that path work.
Yeah. Second you start offering age group prize money, suddenly the pros will drop into age group so they can win that prize money. That's what's going to happen.
And then it'll be a whole.
And then you'll get the place that you probably were going to get if they race in there anyway.
And to be a bit of a douche, I would argue it's their responsibility to do that, to purify the sport.
So a couple things with this. So you're looking at this is I've seen this come up a couple times. Like, is open a different race or is it a scaled version of the race? Like, is this Open Championships the equivalent of
Scale
Croatia, Hvar, or whatever, versus Chicago is the equivalent of Abu Dhabi?
I think it's the RX Hyrox.
It's scaled.
It's just scaled.
Right.
Which is why it shouldn't be pro weight at World Championships.
Yeah, everyone qualifies with a different weight, and then suddenly now
everyone should qualify at pro weight. I don't understand why they're giving open weights spots, open wave spots for pro weight championship. That doesn't
maybe at like
one or the other
60 plus or something. You change it, but
it should open. I mean, if it's the Open Championship, it should be open weight. Age group should not do pro weight ever. If they want to bump up, like, there's a route to that, and maybe they start putting on like day 1 and day 2 options. But I think it's an RX version of Hyrox, and I think that's cool. It allows people to work hard. It allows people to not stand still.
Agreed, for sure.
Which is the point of scaling things. Like,
should
you
exist.
all can work.
It should definitely exist, but like, do we need like a pro card then to keep people out of this?
I just don't think you put anything on it.
What if they just want to do this race? What if you live in Vienna and you're like,
that
good,
seems like what
race
Ronco is.
Yeah.
He just wants to do it.
And he said he did doubles, singles, and relay or something. Like, he had a big race weekend. He just probably wanted a race in his hometown.
I am going to sound elitist. I've never been a fan of podiums for age groups. I think that the satisfaction of winning your age group exists in the results. You look at it and realize I've been ranked. I took 32nd overall. That's how good I am as a competitor. But in my cohort, I was 3rd. That's nice. That's cool to see. But when we start chasing age group podiums and wins, I think it's a normal reaction to a weird decision by the sport. Like road races where you go up and accept my plaque because I took 1st in my age group when the top 3 people were taken out of it because they won the race. I ran slower than 4th place, but I got more of a prize than him because I won my age group. I don't see any need to classify that. I think the results sort it, and then you feel cool. That's it. That's enough.
I have a 3rd place 30 to 34 hanging up over there from Chicago 2020. Hunter McIntyre was 1st place in it.
Yeah.
That's an okay age group award because you're not beating Hunter if he shows up and is in that category.
Right, but you're inventing a new category when you can't win. Right? Like, I couldn't win the race because someone my own age who is my peer is just so good. So we'll give me a new classification that he doesn't qualify because he's too good to be considered 30 to 34.
No, he was considered at that race.
Right, that's what I'm saying. Like, he's too good for it.
Oh, yeah.
If they didn't do it that race, that's how they would do this. Like, it's a participation
though, if you get rid of that.
I don't begrudge athletes for going after the things that the races provide.
For sure.
I just don't think races need to provide that. As long as they're sorting it in your results and you can see how you do against your peer group, I think that's enough. I don't think you need to be called up on a podium for doing well against your age group.
Yeah. I
Unless
mean,
it's
there.
an age-graded competition, which is a cool standalone event by itself.
Ooh, I wonder if they could do that at some point for Hyrox. I'm sure they could, right?
Why not? And that's cool. That's a good way of doing it because it applies to the whole realm, not just.
Yeah,
It's the entire race.
Yeah.
Yeah.
that'd be cool.
What's your take on it? Because I know there's pushback on that. The age group athletes won't like that. I'm not calling them out for pursuing age group. If it's an option, do it.
It's an
Just like if
option,
it's an
yeah.
option for rank to do open, do it. But I just wouldn't offer it.
Yeah, I see why they offer it because it is a reason for people to come back and for something
Right.
to aspire
Repeat
to.
customers, yeah.
Yeah, and like in the world of social media, people
Correct.
are doing things so that they can share it with their friends and show their accomplishments. Outside of like what I believe you're getting to is like the value here is the preparation, pushing yourself, getting in the competition, and coming out feeling as though you gave it what you had and feeling proud of that. Outside of just like, oh, I got this award because just by chance there's less people who were born generally around when I was born than I finished in front of them.
Yeah,
Like,
Yeah. And I hit puberty 3 years later, so I'm technically 3 years younger than the people in my age group. And so I've stopped aging as fast as they have currently, but in a couple of years. Like it's just there's so many, like we can just keep adding drop down menus.
yes.
Like brunettes. I was the fastest brunette.
Well,
I
that's
shaved my head. So
that's
I'm
what
I'm usually towards the top of redheads.
what the Minka does, right? Is then that's what Greg over at Rocks Life does a lot. He's like sorting out and like seeing because he is just like a data guy. So he like sorts out all the stuff and you can't do that. And then we get these like, oh, fastest person in the 35 to 39 in the Northern Hemisphere within
During
during the springtime. Yeah.
Mhm.
But there's nowhere to sort for continental landmass records, which there should be.
you don't need to because it's Rich Ryan.
There's only like 3 of them.
Yeah.
Well, and if Pangea was a real thing that we stemmed from, we're all on the same
We're all on the
continental
same
mass
mass.
in theory. Like I don't feel a need to care that there's an ocean between us.
So I'm back to 6. That's fine.
Yeah.
That's fine.
Poke holes in that. Why am I wrong? Because I know I can
Pangea
be.
thing.
No, not Pangea.
It's like-
Let's start with evolution, Jack, and we'll go from there.
yeah.
Well,
No, age
Because-
groups. Why is it important to have age group podiums and awards?
I think most people don't show up and they go like, "Oh, I wonder how well I did compared to Lauren Weeks." It's like there are a lot of people close to me. Like I train pretty hard in my local gym. I want to see how fit I am with people around my same age. Like
Mhm.
most people growing up, you're like, I'm in high school, so you kind of associate yourself with people in that age group. And then you're in college, you're like, yeah, it's about a 4 or 5 year window, like around the same thing, and that's just kind of what you're used to. So it makes sense, like the divisions, nice 5 and 0 age gaps. But I think it allows you, if you're not one of like the superstar athletes, just to kind of be like, what are people doing? We're probably at the same stage of life. Some of us might have kids, some of us might not. Like some of us might be working more. You most of your peers in the same age group are going through the same stuff, so it's a good comparison for most people.
And there might be I agree with Jack. I think that's a really good point. They're talking about we generally will compete with our peer groups for outside of like elite, right? And even so, like I would imagine most Olympians are in like track and field, let's say, they're probably around the same graduating class, right?
Yeah,
Within
it's like that 20 to
plus minus
30 year
one,
age group,
like one block, 1 4 year
yeah,
block.
yeah, one cycle,
Yeah,
4 years, yeah.
but where
They don't give awards. Like you don't make the team.
They don't have age groups at the Olympics.
but you know what I'm saying? Like they're generally around the same age.
Yeah.
Well, yeah, because performance rewards a certain
You need to be at peak physical
physical attribute.
biologically. So where I think that you're wrong on this is if they didn't have this, it would just be more of a barrier for people to compete and less people would actually participate. But from an actual,
maybe.
I would think so. I think people will see.
You think it's a barrier to entry if you're not given a Tootsie Roll at the end?
Yes.
That's an exit entry. I mean, that's an exit
entry.
Exit barrier. That's not, there's no,
I suppose.
you know what I'm saying? Like the why is wrong.
Yes, it is. But that doesn't mean that doesn't exist for a wide group of people who want to participate. And a lot of people probably look at Hyrox or OCR or whatever. And I know I speak for myself when I look at this, like, oh, I could be good at that. I want to try it.
Maybe this speaks to a bigger issue I have with our system at large, which is peer groups rather than performance-based groups. And maybe that's too big of a topic for this podcast anyway. Like scholastically, it's inappropriate to be in a group with your age peers.
So you think there should be
I think we should have performance-based schools, not age-based.
Is there anything like that in sport where it's, well, I guess like, so relegation more or less?
There's performance-based grouping and you pass through at mastery,
AAU.
not at age. From a coaching standpoint or from a teaching standpoint, it is really, really, really hard, and it's a constant struggle to differentiate for 30 different people rather than you teach a performance level and they move up to the next level.
Yes.
So, I mean, so that's a systemic belief that I have. And maybe that trickles into sport where I don't see any need to reward how you do against your age. I want to see how you do against overall.
Bracken, your sister was in like the gymnastics program. Isn't that kind of the same thing where you have a bunch of kids doing gymnastics, but like you're separated if you're like with your
right. Level 10 at the time was top, and
yeah,
there were some 9-year-olds and there were some 18-year-olds, and you get skill mastery, you elevate up, and no one cares how old you are. You're a prodigy if you're ahead of it, and you're a late bloomer if you're under it, but you get judged the same.
I think that would be a really interesting way to sort a sport or event like this too, right? And I'm sure there will be people who are sandbagging, sort of, right? But like,
unless you don't incentivize anything other than the top tier. If the only goal is to get to the top, sandbagging doesn't matter.
Yeah.
It prevents your progression. It slows your progression. And I personally believe we've seen people throughout OCR and now hybrid who, because there's an award to be had in their age group, don't run pro. And as we've seen, your circle determines your ceiling and won't see their ceiling because they're going after a lesser goal, which requires less of them. Maybe I'm just an old man grousing on my lawn. I don't know.
Seems like something that is more suited for youth and scholastic stuff, just to have a certain, like, so there can be systemic change. But in like an event like this, like, it's already done, man. We've been getting trophies our whole lives. Come on.
Yeah, I guess like what's Hyrox's point of putting, this kind of gets back to why I say this about this sport, is what is the point of putting pro weight at the age group world championship? The implication, to go back to Dennis Reynolds, is that you want to start open and progress to pro. You qualify for worlds, you see how you do against the best, and then the next season you come out and run pro weights. And so it has this advancement version, but they're rewarding people for running not pro weight. And so it de-incentivizes moving up to pro, where if the only goal was to get up to pro weight, which is again implied by putting the most important race of the year at pro weight, and then celebrating the people, how they do there and those that come over and try it, the two systems are kind of at odds with each other.
I see. Yeah. And I think when you explain it like that, I do agree. Because I was like, oh, they must just think of it as two different races, like a sprint versus a beast.
Unless they don't think about it at all. They're just
I don't think they think about it at all.
This is cool, it's epic, it's large, we don't have to change weights.
That's why I don't understand that I have this open championship at all. Like, what is this? What is this doing? Like, why is it just not like the European Championship? Just like, period. And it's, I don't know.
It just kind of reminds me a little bit of the OCR days at Tahoe when it was like, all right, our championship is going to be longer and harder than anything we've done all year. But in order to qualify for it, you have to do lesser stuff. Like that. That never made sense, and that's kind of like the closest comparison that I can see in our realm of sports.
Like even other things have that, right? You can qualify for the marathon trials through the 10K now.
Oh, 10K half, yeah.
Right? Half marathon for years you could. I'm fairly certain you can get there from the 10K. Maybe
I believe it. So it's incredibly fast.
I thought it was one distance down.
It always has been, but I thought there was a 10K path. Maybe there's not.
Really?
Maybe it's.
I thought there was too, but I thought it was like absurd, like how fast it was. It'd be like, okay, that person could probably do
for a while. It was like 64 minutes for the half marathon, break 65 or whatever for a half to get. And it was 2:18.
You can qualify for the trials in the women's field with a 31:30 or faster for the marathon. So you are right.
Yeah, so 10K
Just
does
women's?
have a path there.
That was the one that popped up first. But women's is 31:30. I'll get another answer.
And I think that's a last Olympic cycle update they made in order
fast.
to get the field bigger, which it was bigger.
It got big. Oh, that I think that
Because
was the actual marathon standard.
They tightened down the marathon standard though.
Oh,
They should have. That was people
27:45 to get into the men's marathon field.
right.
So anyway, there is
a very
precedent
small amount
for changing the requirement versus the championship, but not changing season versus championship. Like the marathon majors in the world, they're all the same. The 10K Diamond League leads to 10K World Championship. Like that's not any different, but you can qualify with other things in other sports. Right now, they're running indoor times to qualify for outdoors world championships. They're trying to hit the world standard for outdoors by running at Boston. Like that's what all these pros are doing right now.
This kind of sounds a little Goofy Games-esque to me.
It's a bit goofy. Hybrid is inherently goofy.
But at least there's at least like
Rich doesn't want to own it. He's like, no, Goofy is only
the Open
OCR.
Championship?
Yeah. No, hybrid and like Hyrox is goofy. It's a mashup of
in general.
things.
Yeah, I mean it's not like a real thing.
But they've standardized it, which now makes it less goofy.
Which makes then like so CrossFit, that's goofy. That is
right.
Just that they might as well have purple trampolines or whatever you guys would
solve a puzzle afterwards.
Like triathlon, the origin is goofy. But then once it became standardized and repeatable, it's not goofy anymore.
Right. It is like, okay, here, this is actually a thing that you can train for.
Yeah.
Yes. Whereas like these other events are kind of like, yeah, show up. Who knows? Maybe you'll be playing football with a basketball.
Maybe you have to be fit. Maybe you don't.
Yeah. Who knows? BK, you're cooking today, dude. Maybe we just this is going to be good for the show, taking like 3 or 4 weeks in a row. It's like pent up, and then you just come out here and fire up.
I gotta step back and rehydrate here.
You're just cooking, dude. All right,
just gonna finish that workout 8 minutes before we record, and like the brain's fired.
Endorphin rush.
Yeah.
BK, what shoes you been rocking these days? Anything new?
Well, I'm trying to think of new. I've been going back to Alpha Flies as I've been trying to build up volume. I've been using Alphas on the treadmill, and it's like running on an Alter G. I have the Nordic Track that has some bounce to the tread as it is, some give. And so Alpha Flies on that, it's like, I feel like a 25% reduction in my
That is an interesting sensation on like a motorized treadmill with a super shoe, because you do get some back and it gives you a little bit of the back kick.
Except there's no tip to it, so it's all absorption and bounce.
You can run fast.
I've been celebrating my ability to run trails again, so I've been testing out trail super shoes.
What do you got? Did you get those Hokas? The
Rocket, the Tecton X3, yeah.
How are they with the gator on them?
Of the plated and critical foamed trail shoes, super critical. Some of them are just like they say they are, but they don't feel good at all.
Yeah, I haven't experienced much.
I have New Balance, that SC Elite Trail or whatever they call it, Nike Ultrafly Trail, Tecton X2, Tecton X3, and Saucony Endorphin Edge. And
you have all those?
Yeah.
Nice.
And then technically the VJ Lightspeed has supercritical foam, and it has a 2/3 or 3/4 length plate to it as well. So that kind of counts. So I've been testing all those, and some of them are just like, I usually say every shoe has the person that's good for. Some of these are actually just bad, in my opinion. But
they're trying in those trail shoes, man. They're just like, hey, these road shoes change the game. They're not there yet. Maybe there's something they could do, but it just seems like the variables are just.
But there are a few that are like just good shoes, and Tecton X3 is a good shoe.
That's a good one. You'd recommend?
Yeah. It doesn't have like much of a rocker to it, but it has foam that you step in and you're like, this is super foam. So it has protection and it has bounce to it. And you don't get a lot of bounce on trail shoes. And it's comfortable. The plate doesn't hurt. Plate hurts in some of these shoes. Nike Trail, the Ultrafly Trail is like legitimately a bad shoe.
You guys want a little shoe talk?
Mm-hmm.
Let's hear it.
Had a 7-hour layover in Frankfurt, Germany. Decided to do that same thing we did last time, Rich. Remember when we were wandering around there, found that weird porta potty and stuff? That was a weird one.
Yeah, you couldn't sit. I don't think there was enough
Like
room.
literally the toilet lid was like touching the wall. So
Very
it's like,
small.
how can you actually use that? But anyway, we
That
were
was a
wandering.
urinal, Jack.
No, well, I didn't go in it. This is Ryan Ken. He came out like crying, laughing.
That was
like,
definitely a urinal.
yeah, he forgot how to go to the bathroom. But anyway, we're just walking around, cut through some random side street, and there's this just sporting goods store or like shoe store. Hyrox everything. Every single thing is like Puma this, Hyrox shoes that. Like they're big in Germany. I saw it firsthand.
It's happening, man. This thing has happened. In Vegas, it was a lot of it was built around like the Puma store was all Hyrox stuff, but because they had a bunch of events there, I don't know how it's like that regularly.
Could have been like a monthly sponsorship just to like hype around the event.
Yeah, right. But
What
yeah,
else do they sell?
Puma?
Soccer?
Yeah, man, they got hoops. Who's Puma's?
Oh, that's right, Mello.
Yeah.
I've got 2 or 3 of his. I like them.
Do you?
Yeah.
You got the Leangelos. So
He's probably lining.
He's what?
Lining
Ling or whatever.
Lingling.
Yeah.
Leaning.
Yeah, man, it's happening. So we have Glasgow coming up soon. It looks like they changed the timing, then they changed it back. That's very nice of them. And then
Big
like
thumbs up.
Spartan never would do anything like that.
Yeah.
Right.
We said on this show, this is the screw up that these brands make when they think they can do it themselves. What they do next will tell us what kind of company they are.
And they went back.
They
And this is a big part. I mean, this is like a lot of the stickiness of Hyrox is getting to go into your results.
Yes.
See exactly how you did. See how you did against your peer group. See how you did against
people.
everybody.
Sports that have data last.
Yes, and like they had it there, and the new one was just not ready at all. So
you
they do
guys
have
use
it.
Oh, go ahead. Keep going.
No, I was just gonna change it.
Oh, the Bleacher Report app. Do you guys use that?
I have
That's
not
my
in a
go-to
while.
sports app, and they updated 2 weeks ago, and it's really bad, and everyone hates it. And there's just been crickets on their end. And it was interesting that it happened about the same time as Hyrox, and Hyrox fixed it before Bleacher Report has.
Wow, that's pretty. Wow, that's serious.
So I'm just happy for that. That it's Hyrox has a lot of signs out there that they might screw things up, but they also keep giving some hope that they're going to, at most turns, try to do a good thing with it.
Yes, because
I like that.
With this, what was the most concerning thing about the results changing, right? Like, and I'm sure if they just were like, whatever, these are just results now, people would have gotten over it. A lot of people would have come in not knowing what it was, and then it would just kind of slowly dissipate. The race is still great, whatever. The people will figure it out. But it would have been a time where there was a regression in the quality of the product, most likely because of cost. You could imagine, right? They just didn't want to pay this contract. They just do it in house and not kicking it back to the consumer. And that was the one thing that was a little icky to me. I was like, ugh, like this is worse. They made it worse for us, and we're not going to get any savings because of this. You can bet that. But then they listened and they changed it.
I think the thing that shifted it was who said they liked the new results. I think it was literally 100%, 0% in terms of hate versus like it. Like sometimes you remember back in the day when like Facebook would change their appearance and people would join all these groups. They're like, let's demand that they revert to the old Facebook. And like that was ridiculous back in the day. It's like some people didn't like it, but overall it was like, whatever, we'll get used to it. No one liked this. So they just went back to what worked.
Yeah. Well, there's visuals and then there's usability. And this had no usability. And they owned it. And they said, listen, we're going to go back to it while we continue to work. We're still going to this thing, but we're going to improve it. And we're going to work on it. And then we're going to try again. And I think that's it.
Once July rolls around,
it's appropriate.
That's it. But they've got time.
I hope they don't make the Spartan mistake twice, which is not workshop this with people who could give them instant feedback.
Yes, like they didn't need it. They could have skipped this step. This was a very painful step for them.
And this isn't like Spartan where we're like, there are a few people in this sport that really know how to design a course or really know how to live stream. Like you could have asked any athlete who's done more than one race, hey, check out our new timing system. Like open waivers, 80-year-olds, 17. It doesn't matter. Like anyone could have looked at that and been like, this doesn't tell me what I need to know.
Like, this is
so
worse.
I hope this time around they do it.
Yeah, let's get a little beta test or something in there. Let's just look at this real quick. We'll talk about this more on the rundown, I'm sure, but I just want to kind of touch on this, see what we can think about this field, see what we're thinking here.
Oh, did we mention who won the European women's race? Sophia Parvizi Wayne. I've never heard of her from the UK.
I never heard of her either. The second and third, I think it was Elise Alice Scherzer.
Yeah.
Her,
Tanya
Schneider.
Yeah.
Yeah.
But
she's the one who's a really good triathlete. She's like an Olympic hopeful triathlete.
Yeah. Fast times.
Olympic level.
Yeah.
I think that she's like was
special.
an Olympic hopeful. Yeah, like she's like a legitimate like athlete.
We forget how elite some of these people are at being a cardiovascular athlete. Some of these races I've been watching indoor where you're like, these are not that good. They are barely pros. Like you're watching them get dropped and then they run like 13-17 in a 5K. And you're like, oh, like they're so far ahead of a normal development. Some of these triathletes that have come over to run track and road races lately, like some guy just ran like 13:44 or something.
A try guy.
Yeah, like these people are in Alex Yee is running London.
He's fast.
Like these people, we forget how elite they truly are, which I don't care how specialized your body got, like skin and bones, like perfect for your sport, like dialed to that. Your internals are different. And if these people, like these are the scary ones coming over, someone like her, if she's Olympic level, she's also probably a national level runner and has power output that can be developed.
It's just movement. It's a movement's poor. Like,
can you do 100 wall balls? That's
yeah,
not too many triathletes doing that.
Right.
Yeah.
But
I would shown it can be done.
If you took 1,000 people off the couch, you could teach them to go unbroken in 100 wall balls before you could teach them to break 5 in a mile.
Yeah.
Like
I mean, she
movement
probably has...
can be learned through drill. A VO2 max of 70, 75, 80 cannot be learned through drill. And so, yes, they have to stick around for a while and it's going to be ugly, but they have the framework to be a scary competitor.
So far, it's interesting. And when CrossFit was coming up, I always just waiting. I was like, wait till real athletes get in here and just start blasting these people. And it never really happened. It was always that the same people would just qualify for the games over and over. And I don't know if it's just like a head start or the specialization for CrossFit is kind of an oxymoron, but it's the I don't know why it just never happened. Do you know how many new athletes on the men's side have qualified for Worlds so far this year?
Ryland?
No, he qualified last year.
Oh, he did. Yeah.
0. None.
Wow.
So as the sport like grows and grows and big, and 2 on the women's side. So
Joanna,
Lucy and Joanna.
Yeah. It takes all in. And that's the issue. Like you talked about the specialization of CrossFit. The specialization is being able to globally train for 5 hours a day. 8 hours. Like that's the specialty of that sport. And you need to be financially stable and hungry to be able to commit to 2 years of that. And if you can't make the game. Like you can't do it in 1 year.
Right.
And we saw Hunter, who's as set up to do it as anyone. He couldn't make a splash in 1 year. He would take 2 to 3 years. So it's the same thing with Hyrox. There's too much specialization required and big hours of training that you can't dabble it. You'd have to go all in on it now. Maybe year 1 or 2, you could. You have to be all in. You have to train Hyrox every day. So
seems that way. And be willing to travel to stupid international locations. No offense to Glasgow. I'm sure it's going to be great. It's going to be rainy.
You can qualify for Worlds probably in year 1 if you found the right place.
Hasn't seemed to be.
Like if you got, let's say you found a Hong Kong or like whatever, you found something that worked. Maybe you could do it as a special athlete, but you're going to take last at Worlds.
Yeah, I don't even know.
You won't make money on the sport.
No,
unless you commit your life to it.
Yeah, and that seems to be we're there already.
It happened quick.
We're there already with this, and maybe it was because CrossFit came before, and there's like a path, or maybe just that there is a path for like an influencer lifestyle, right? That where you can kind of be an athlete, but you can kind of be like a social influencer, just like actually a job people have.
Just be jacked.
Just be jacked and look great. Be a hybrid.
One-on-one coaching.
One-on-one coaching, easy.
Follow me.
Fake jobs.
Yeah.
So yeah. So let's look at this real fast. See, I'm guessing just who will not be. Any word on Dylan? Do we know if he's going?
I bet he does.
If I was him, I wouldn't. I wouldn't. If I was
Keep that momentum
qualified,
up.
I wouldn't. What's that?
You'd say you wouldn't keep the momentum up. You'd be like, just get in training.
Momentum's not his issue.
If it was me, I wouldn't. If I would have qualified in Vegas, I would be like,
That's
go
fair.
good.
If what's major? First prize is at 8.
Yeah, 75.
Unless so call it 5,000 after expenses and taxes, or maybe less. Let's say 4,000 to 5,000. Unless that money matters in your day-to-day life, I wouldn't go if I was qualified unless I was local.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
Opposite from last year, where once you're in, stay in. I think you're good right now.
I think so too. That's how I would approach it. But with that said, Hunter is definitely going. Not definitely, because can't say definitely for anything.
Planning on it.
He said once that
he's in
going
Australia and then he's doing the tour of the world, basically.
Yeah. And then Ronco said he's going. I would assume Sandy. Kent is going. JK, I would imagine he'll race any race anywhere at any time. Palaio said he's going. And then, so those athletes are all qualified. And down here, Graham is qualified.
We're saying 6 out of the 7 for sure.
Out of the autos, 6 out of the 7 for not for sure, but like
likely.
I would bet on.
Yeah. Sean Noble's out.
Sean Noble, you would assume is out.
Rylan
you would assume is out. Bo is qualified, but again, it's in Europe. He probably will go. Same with Tim. He's qualified, but you assume he would go.
Tim's one of those I would race my way through the season.
You would keep
I
going?
would do the opposite of what I just said. I would put Tim up there where I'd race again. I'd keep refining what my strategy is going to need to be to make a run at that podium or the win at Worlds.
Yeah. He's got to stay healthy.
He's missed so many chunks that I would probably undertrain and over race.
That's fair. That'd be a fair way to go about it. So we're thinking at least 3, did we say? If we're including Dylan with a roll down, right? Graham, it's his hometown. I don't know how healthy he is. So I think he's a maybe. Joffrey's in. He's racing.
Always.
Luke doesn't seem like he's that interested in racing this year. I would imagine Sebastian would get there.
I don't think that this list is actually accurate because I'm scroll down a little bit and look at number 29, Tomasz. He went 56.
Oh yeah,
that doesn't have it.
Tomasz and where's his other 56:12 was his time?
56:12.
I love that Maastricht course. That delivers. It's like Chicago.
Yeah, but
this is not. You're right. This is probably not updated.
Yeah,
so that would bump everybody down a little bit, right?
Yeah.
And then what's Avon ran real fast there too. I don't see where his first or second time is.
Yeah, I think we're just speculating at this point. But
so we're talking about roll down for qualifying.
You're on Las Vegas.
I was trying to see if Avon's time was on.
I see.
In here. Yeah. Okay. Yeah. I think you're right, Jack. This is not updated. So never mind. Let's go back to bashing them.
So in theory, you're saying
bad
that
website
starting somewhere around 5th place could start the roll downs for World Championships.
Yeah. Yeah.
This is it. This is what we talked about could happen.
Definitely. So like if me, Dearden, and Wynn finish like 6th, 7th, and 8th, we could go.
Is this better for you that everyone shows up, or is it not better for you?
Probably
Would you
better.
rather run with the ability to just run my own race and close strong and not have to worry about racing for a top 3 spot? Is that better?
I don't know. I think it's
athlete dependent.
Numbers wise, it's better, right? Like the less amount of people who are in that can qualify, that's better. But what does it do to the nuance of the race? If I want to run my own race, I don't need to engage up front. Yeah.
In theory, the more people are qualified, the more different strategies you're going to see. Like you might have someone out front not intending to finish or trying to ride an edge. Like this type of race might really reward run your own race.
Do what Bo Wills does. Yeah.
Should I just sit?
I'm
sit on like
I think
Sit on
Bracken
Jake
has-
Dearden.
I think
Sit
Bracken
on,
has a great point where like you might just be testing your world strategy with the full intention of dropping out.
Your strategy might be my race is only the field that can qualify today. And I'm running in range of that spot the whole time. Like you're just tracking who is actually in third right now.
right. Instead of trying to race on the podium and like
Yeah.
getting sucked out and blowing to pieces potentially.
I mean, what's the mission?
Get
Qualify,
off the world.
baby.
You don't
Yeah.
want to make another trip to Europe again a month later.
Hell no.
You want to be that, I'm not saying you, but like someone wants to be that guy blasting across the finish line, having just gobbled people up on the last two stations and just, you could also be that guy just ahead, right? But either way, the race is not to the podium. The race is to qualifying.
Yeah, maybe you're right. Maybe just sit.
Unless
Sit on
$4,000 or
win.
$5,000 is needed on a monthly basis for someone who's given their life to pursuing this and they need that to pursue it again next month.
Right. Right.
Like someone who doesn't have a sponsorship with the feed.
The feed for all your nutrition needs, an online marketplace, everything you need for nutrition and tech.
And what did you tell me today they also have?
Hydration vests for days.
I
So
didn't
many
know that.
hydration vests. It's crazy.
And
They have-
hats.
Lots of hats.
With that one
they-
behind you.
They sell those. They're the exclusive retailer for those cooling mitts. You know that like famous study where the person did like pull-ups and then they use these mitts to cool their hands, and the amount of work they could do was like it was like 10x or something like that from like the week
Really?
before. And now they're like, oh, is heat really the main limiter when it comes to fatigue?
I know they've got the
They got that for sure.
cooling bands for just
Cooling.
$280.
Yeah, I know. They're so expensive.
But if it's the main limiter in an ultra, it's worth it.
Yeah.
You can
Looks
pay
sick.
How
$300 to
long do those
enter.
stay
You might as
cool?
well double that and stay cool.
I don't know how long those stay cool.
Because like
They're
were all the
refreshable.
Olympians, were they ripping them off? Like, because I thought Kipchoge and a bunch of them had it on the start line, but is that lasting 2 hours?
I hate speculating on this type of thing, even though I'll speculate on anything else, but I think they're refreshable. I think they regenerate. I think there's a reaction to water.
Cool.
So I think if you can keep them wet, they stay cool.
Huh.
Someone fact check that.
The cooling pieces are a graphite material that sit on your headgear. By using the power of evaporation, water or sweat is absorbed into the porous graphite material. That creates a 500% increase in surface area evaporation. Okay, so basically just like an extra layer of like,
So this is what we're going to see.
Sweating.
We're going to see these built into compression shirts, and they're going to target your kidney areas, and they're going to
Your
target over your
armpits.
heart, any place that like is known to have an effect on cooling your core temperature. You're going to have these panels everywhere.
yeah, I wonder. It's worth a shot. Maybe I'll give it a shot. I'll look sick in this thing.
Someone just raced in them.
In where? In Hyrox?
Hyrox.
No way.
Yeah.
Really?
I think at the Open Championships in Europe.
That probably would have been real nice in Nice last year when it got nice and hot.
Mm-hmm.
Nice and nice.
BK, you got to get on this site. You would go crazy. You would love it.
That's why I got to stay off of it.
You got to get on here. Just once. Just like, you know.
I'm such a hater. Every race I watch now just is like the feed on everyone's hat, everyone's shirt, everyone's belt. All their hydration belts say the feed on it now. And I'm like, I won't. You're not paying me.
It's good stuff. It is really, really
I'm
good
a
stuff.
hater of the highest order.
They're on your feed.
What else? Bicarb.
All I hear
Ketones.
is feed the need from Hunter when I see the feed.
Ugh. All right. Anything else?
Couple weeks we'll draft. Rich probably won't again.
I'm out.
You're out.
That'll be 2 weeks. Right. Yeah, I'm going to
Yeah,
Scotland.
it's
I'm leaving
like March
Scotland
13th or 14th.
Thursday.
Are you? You're
Super
getting over there a
soon.
week early?
I'm out of town.
Where you going?
Well, North Carolina next week. Braden's got spring nationals, but then in a few weeks heading over to Sweden.
Whoa. Nice.
Ah,
Go watch Marion ball out a little bit. Got 2 weeks over there.
that's cool.
You were over there, I think, a couple of years ago. You're supposed
2
to
years.
pop in that major.
Yeah, I landed and went to a playground with my kids and had my back just lock up. Like, I'm old. That's it.
That's
My
it.
back gives out when I travel.
You need to get like a
I'm a
complete...
Gita.
Yeah.
I need a Firefly device is what I need.
Those
They
are
got
those
that.
are
You
good.
know where you can get those?
Yeah, Mark Gaudette.
He is the exclusive retailer.
he's my
The
Firefly
feed.com has
friend.
them. I got some ready for my flight. I'm gonna
There you
get
go.
all sorts of minerals and stuff for the
Jack?
jet lag.
I've worn
Did
them.
he, did he hook you up for Dubai?
No, Rich doesn't hook me up like that.
Oh my
Did I hook him up? I thought you were talking about Mark Godet.
Yeah, no.
Dude, the
Mark
first time
Godet.
Jack wore the Firefly things, he had it on like way too low.
It was on like I was like,
and then he
kicking.
like pressed the button up twice and it actually hit him and he like literally kicked the seat in front of him. He was like, "Whoa!"
I was like, that
It was-
that
it
was powerful.
It was one of the funniest things I've ever seen.
I needed to go to level 0 or level 1 on that thing instead.
It was fantastic.
You're a high responder to an electric stim.
I got it on the right spot. Yeah.
Okay.
All right. So we'll see you when we'll see you. Not sure when, but at some point, make sure you check out the Hyrox Rundown episodes dropping on Mondays. Got takes, you got interviews on there as well. So it'll be a little bit more of a freshness to that. We'll see the squad there. We'll come back on whenever we feel like it. Whenever Jack wins. Next time Jack wins 20K plus, this is gonna be like a regular occurrence. He's just crushing. It's gonna win Hyrox Worlds. Be like chump change.
For people who do want OCR coverage, I know we bashed it a lot, but OCR Report does do a good job, and they are streaming Jacksonville, so might not be as many recognizable names, but I think next Monday, that's when we're recording Bracken. You and me on the
That's
mic.
right. On the mics.
Oh, let's go. I didn't know.
Yeah.
On the call.
So we'll do a good job. They'll do a good job. Check it out. Maybe learn a few new names.
Sweet. Cool squad. Appreciate you. Talk to you soon.